We did discuss the issue of the training on our last meeting, the meeting for last week. We did discuss we are supposed to have a meeting. I want to apologize that the notices were sent only yesterday to members because of confirmation that took place from the office of the Premier. We want to welcome the facilitators from the office of the Premier. A warm hearty welcome. Welcome to our honorable members and also the Secretary of the Legislature, who's always with us when we are dealing when we are having or holding the meetings of the Multiparty Women's Caucus. We are so proud of you, Secretary. We have got apologies. Can we be assisted with this noise? Can we have somebody that will just switch off all the members? They will only open when they are talking. Thank you very much. I think we have to continue because this particular workshop is important to us. And I think the issue of the protocol as the sixth parliament or sixth administration is more important to us so that we understand the protocols that we have to follow when we are having meetings, when we are meeting with the other people, because you will find that the culture that we are following is not the same culture that we are using. So it is important to get this particular training for us as the sixth administration, because you will find that some of the diplomacy that we have to follow, we have got different diplomacy that we have to follow. So I think today we'll be in a position to understand so that when we go outside or even inside the country, because the way we talk when we meet with different stakeholders is not the same. And also when we deal with the issue of the protocol, it's something that is more important to understand other people's culture, so that whatever we are doing, we are not going to infringe to their culture. I think it will be important for us to really get this training today, because also we have to understand the rules of the game, formally and socially, as well as culturally. So it is important for us to understand all those areas so that when we meet with the other people, we are not offending them. And also, even we are giving a chance to represent our country, we really understand the protocol as well as the diplomacy, how to behave when we are in the other country. That's why it's important also that when you go outside, you do the research, you understand that country that you be in, and also any constituents that will be meeting with as a multi-party women's caucus. Because even the dress code, it talks to the culture, the way we behave when we meet, and the way we dress when we go outside. So it is important for us today that we are going to get that training, get that understanding from the team of the facilitators from the office of the Premier. I understand that Nimi is here, Nonte also is here, that is going to take us through, and the other colleagues that are going to take us through the training. Colleagues, the agenda is here. It talks about the apologies, or maybe first we need to introduce ourselves. But there are members of the legislature that is attending here. There is support staff that is going forward. So is the one from the Honorable Speaker of the Legislature, Honorable Boyce. The other one is the one for Honorable Songwa that I received. The other one is Honorable Butelezi. also made an apology. And then, yeah, these are the 3 apologies that I think I got. Also, Honorable Swart Boy, I see now it has come through, is attending another meeting. Yeah, these are the only apologies that I've received. I don't know whether the official, they do have, the coordinator does have any other apology other than this. Miss,
Chair, we have apology from the Honorable Speaker, Honorable Kumete, and Honorable Nkwanyana, on top of Honorable Tilezi Hlongwa and Swartboy.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. I did say the one for the Honorable Speaker because he's the first one that put the apology forward when we got the notice. These are the apologies, colleagues, that we are having. And I will be guided because here on my list, it's not all the members that are appearing that are part of the meeting. I can only see Honorable Mpaipeli, Fraser, Honorable Gavenda, Honorable Rab, Honorable Changase, Honorable Mapena, and Honorable Madlopa. I only see 7 at the moment. If there are any other members that I don't see on the participant list, can they? Any other member?
Honorable
I see here Takur Rasbans is part of us and Honorable Hussein.
Yes, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. This is the workshop. I'm not sure whether we need a quorum on this workshop, but I must indicate that I don't think also we must have our implement our program by just ticking off the box. We need that when we are having a workshop, it must have an impact on the members, because we did say in the workshop of the 4th of February that we would want our members to be empowered, to be trained, so that when they do their oversight, they understand exactly what is expected of them. But here, if the members are less than even the quorum, which is 15, according to our rules, I think it's not gonna be good, because what we want when we are having the workshop, we want all the members, because when we're in the workshop, we did said that we want all the members to be part of the program, so that it becomes effective. It's not something that is just tick. We want to make an impact. If we say that when we discuss outside the workshop, we are all understanding what a protocol means to us as members, equity and diplomacy. What does it mean to us as members? What is it that is expected from us going forward, so that when we represent our legislature, we understand the protocol that we have to observe. But let's hope that other members will be joining us when we are continuing. Can we adopt these apologies that has been presented before us? Dlaba?
Now move us, Sihlalo.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Any seconder?
Mapena, Chair.
I suppose.
Thank you very much, Mapena. Is there any other view, even including the comments?
No, Chairperson, we're seconding all of us.
Can you indicate?
Apology yakho ke wena.
Ayibongi khona emeeting it mina. Nihlulwa i-technology nje nina, ngoba fama nibone ukuthi obani abakhona la.
Hello.
Hello, Chairperson.
Yes.
Yes.
Is it
Yes.
Honorable Ntombe?
Yes, Chairperson.
I'm so sorry, it's here because we got the apology sent here. That will be in the other meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can we then move, honorable members? Thank you. Can we go to invite Miss Jade to come forward and do the presentation, taking us through on what is the meaning of protocol etiquette as well as the diplomacy.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, can you hear me on your side?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, audible.
Okay. Greetings to the Chairperson, the members, and the colleagues. My name is Mimi Jabe in the Office of the Premier. I am with my colleagues here, Siabulela Mlandu and Nontle Kanyile. Firstly, let us express our gratitude for this invitation to do the protocol workshop. Though we are doing it in a kind of a different format than the one that we are used to, we pray that the network is not going to give us challenges. You will see, Chairperson and the members and colleagues, that this is a very long presentation, but we'll try our best to move as fast as possible, of course, with members on board understanding. We are going to present a protocol presentation, which we believe that it will be helpful for the members. In fact, protocol is a subject that has to be learned and be known by each and every citizen of the country, because it has a lot that is relevant for each and every one of us, and it is even more important for us as the officials as well as the members. The presentation that we did here, Chairperson and the members, we tried our level best to include as more topics as possible that would be relevant to the members of the legislature. But if maybe there is something else that you would like us to do and present on at a later stage, we will be glad to do so. We started with protocol, etiquette, and diplomacy, just to understand whether there are any legislations that have got to do with the protocol. Protocol is guided by those three legislations as indicated in the presentation, by the Constitution, which is the Act 108 of 1996, and also the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act of 2005, Act 13 of 2005, as well as Promotion of Access to Information Act. By definition, protocol is the rule of conduct that we use when we are facilitating interaction between departments, between organizations. This also assists us in understanding what is the provincial order of precedence, which is what talks about the seniority in government. It also talks about the way the government corresponds, the forms of address, ceremonial conduct, a lot of other things, diplomatic relations, and it also gives order where government is concerned. Protocol and etiquette, they are like a formal procedure that has to be used by government in government affairs. The etiquette, we normally call it the polite behavior of an individual. So there's a difference between the two. Protocol is a behavior of an organization, and then the etiquette is a behavior of an individual. And the way an individual behaves then portrays the organization that the person comes from. Let me just make a very simple example. Let's say somebody is calling from outside and I pick up the phone. I can, if I am in a work situation or in a work environment, I cannot just pick up the phone and say, yeah, but maybe I can do it if somebody is calling me in my private phone. So that means there has to be a way that I use when I am in an official setting. For instance, I will pick up the phone and say, good afternoon, Office of the Premier, Mimi speaking, how can I help? So you can see that by the way I have introduced myself, the way I have picked up the phone, it says a lot about my department or the organization that I belong to. So the etiquette, it means that there has to be a correct behavior of an individual, and it has to portray manners, because now the way I behave, then it talks more about the organization that I belong to. There is what is called the business etiquette and also the telephone etiquette, like I've just made an example to. There is also what is called the diplomacy. I know we have used this word. The person who is, if the person who is working on the screen can move to the next slide, please. Diplomacy is said to be an interaction at any level among sovereign states and international organizations. It is the way that the sovereign states or the international organizations manage their international relations. And diplomacy is also, it talks a lot about politeness, it talks a lot about negotiations, because each organization will be coming with a different mindset. But for those two organizations to work together, that means there has to be that degree of understanding and as well as degree of negotiations in order to achieve whatever has to be achieved. Then we say protocol and etiquette are like the lubricants that make diplomacy to run smoothly. So that means you cannot achieve diplomacy if you don't understand protocol and if you don't understand etiquette. Then coming to the protocol side, we have different types of protocol. There is what we call the state level. The state level is mainly the protocol that pertains to the president, to the government, to the ministers, premiers, speakers, mayors, and state officials. And it relates to or is applicable when we have, for instance, presidential visits, when we have state and official luncheons, when we have a commemoration of national days, we apply the state protocol. When the provincial legislature deals with its matters, it has to apply the state protocol, provincial house of traditional leaders, opening and closing of international conferences, swearing in of the members, swearing in of the premiers, of the speakers, of the mayors. There is a certain level of state protocol that has to be used. And then when we talk about the diplomatic level is the one now whereby there will be an interaction between the diplomats or between the diplomats and the consular corps. And it talks about also the principles of acceptable behavior. And it's important that each organization or each state has to be sensitive to and respect the other state. For instance, we know that the Republic of South Africa is a member of the diplomatic community, which is why it belongs to so many organizations like the African Union, the United Nations, and so on. I don't know whether I should pause there, Chairperson, or just move with your guidance, please.
You can finalize your presentation, and then we'll ask the members if they do have the questions of clarity or yes.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. We also have what is called the Order of Proceedings. There is a difference between Order of Proceedings and the Order of Precedence. When we talk about the Order of Precedence, we talk about the seniority. The seniority, we know that even amongst the members themselves, though they may all be MPLs, but we know that some are more senior than the other, and that is not determined by age. What is used to indicate the seniority is the date of appointment, is the previous government a position that the person has held before being a member of the legislature, is the length of service in the organ of government held by that particular member. So we look at all of those things in order to determine the level of seniority for each member. Then I will talk more about the order of precedence as I move on in my presentation. Then this order of precedence is then important because it determines, it is used in a number of government settings. For instance, when people are being acknowledged at an official function, you don't start with the least or with the junior person, but you start with the most senior and you move down to the most junior person, if I can put it that way. Also, when there is a receiving line, let's say, I will be making more the example of the Premier because I work in the Premier's office, but this is applicable also to the Speaker's office and to other government setups. For instance, if there is a receiving line, the way we as protocol will arrange our principals to receive, let's say the president is coming to the country. So you will not start maybe with the district mayor when there is a premier, when there is a member, when there is a district mayor. So that means you start with the one who is the most senior. So the president will first be received by the person who is the most senior, going down to the most junior person who is part of the receiving line. Again, it also talks about when we are having official events, it talks about who speaks first and who speaks last. And the person who is most senior is the one who will speak last. The most junior will speak first, and then the most senior will speak last. It talks about the sitting arrangements. The way we arrange, we are guided by the order of precedence. It also talks about presenting dignitaries to the Premier on formal occasions. You will know that if maybe the Premier is arriving, let's say at Tugela district, the way that the Premier will be introduced to the other person. In fact, the right way of introducing the Premier will say, Mr. Premier, please receive the district mayor. So it means you have to start with the one who is the most senior, and whilst you are introducing the one who is junior to the other. It also talks about when you are arranging arrival and departure times at functions. You will know that the junior person will be the first one to arrive. And then the one who is most senior will be the last one to arrive. And if it happens that the person who is junior arrives after the senior person, that creates a lot of embarrassment. So it's important that as the members, we know that if we are told according to the order of proceedings that you are supposed to arrive at 10 and then the Premier is arriving at 10 past 10, it's important that you arrive at the allocated time so that you are not the one now who has to be received by the Premier when you are supposed to receive the Premier. It also talks about the way we serve luncheons and dinners, with the most senior people being served a dinner first. And when we have visiting premiers or MECs or national ministers, we also accord them the very same level of seniority. So that means if a person is an MEC, for instance, in Mpumalanga, when he comes to KwaZulu-Natal, that person still has to be treated at that level. You cannot say because he's from Mpumalanga, then you give that the member a less junior position. Yes. There is one other point, which is the last point on this slide, which talks about the king and premier in all instances are accorded the highest precedence in the province in all private and government functions. And this only applies to the province of KwaZulu-Natal. I'm sure some members would have seen that when there is the premier and the king, His Majesty, we always regard His Majesty as the most senior. So, according to the order of precedence, or what we call the rubrics, the premier is senior than His Majesty. We will go to the presentations which talk about the rubrics or the levels of seniority, and then you will understand. But in the case of KZN, though I wouldn't want to say much about it, is that there is this political understanding that His Majesty is senior than the premier. But in other provinces, that is not done. And according to the DERCO manual that we use, the premier is senior than than His Majesty. The next presentation, it talks about the National Order of Precedence, the seniority. It has got rubrics from 1A up to number 25. I will not go into detail on these ones, but I will just indicate that the rubric is like a level of seniority. 1A, for instance, it talks about the President of the Republic, and then 1B is accorded to an acting president if the president of the country is not in, and then there's somebody who is acting. That person is not moved to being level 1A, but that person remains level 1B. The deputy president is a 2A, and then the president-elect then is a 2B. Then there is the Chief Justice, Ubaba Mukweng, a 3A, and the Acting Justice. And I'll just jump on to 4A, former presidents of the Republic of South Africa in order of seniority. They are also accorded a certain level of seniority, with the last one to come out of the office being accorded the most senior position. For instance, in in South Africa, we know that the last president was Ubaba Zuma. So that means he is senior than the other presidents. So if maybe there is Ubaba Zuma and President Mbeki, so that means now Ubaba Zuma will be the most senior amongst the former presidents, as they appear here in the order of precedence. And then I will move to rubric 5. I will leave 4B. Rubric 5 talks about national cabinet ministers in order of seniority. You know that the ministers are also not at the same level. They may all be the ministers, the national cabinet ministers, but they also are given certain levels. We know who is senior to who, and because of the order of precedence. We also have 5A, the Speaker of the National Assembly. 5B, we have the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. 5C, the Premiers of the respective provinces in order of seniority, because they are not at the same level. They are all at 5C, which is the same level in terms of 5A, 5B, 5C, but in terms of seniority, they are not at the same level. Then rubric 6A talks more about the diplomatic corps. I will jump that one and go to rubric 7A, which talks about the deputy ministers. And then 7B, there is speakers of provincial legislature in order of seniority. 7C, we have members of the executive, which are the MECs of the provinces. So that means now, in level 7, for instance, we have 7A, 7B, 7C. So then you can see that if we are applying this to the legislature, then our speaker will be level 7B, and then the members, the MECs, they will be at level 7C. And then, then level 8B, the traditional monarchs, which talks about the level of seniority. And it also says where the event or the ceremony is being held, that monarch is accorded the highest level of seniority. If, for instance, now we have, let's say there is an event that is happening in KZN, a ceremony happening in KZN, but His Majesty is number 2 in terms of seniority if you compare him with the other monarchs. Because the event will be happening in the province, then he will be given that highest level. We go to 9A, 9B, 9C, and then we go to 9E, Deputy Speakers of Provincial Legislatures in order of seniority. And then we move on to Rubric 10, the Mayor of the Capital Province in which the function is held, if it differs from 8A. And then the Secretary of the Cabinet, and then it moves, I'm sorry, there is a repetition there, 9C and 9D at the end. Of this slide. And then if we go to 13A, we have leaders of political parties in the National Assembly in order of seniority. Okay, and then we have level 14, we have level 15, which talks about former chief justices in order of seniority. We have 16, 17. 17A talks about the members of the NCOP in order of seniority. 17B talks about the members of the provincial legislative authorities or the MPLs. So that means the MPLs then fall under 17B in terms of seniority. There is 17C, excuse me, which is the chairperson of the National Council for Traditional Leaders. And then there is 17D, chairpersons of provincial houses of traditional leaders in order of seniority. So that means Unkosi Uchiliza would fall under 17D in the province. It moves on to 17E, 17F, and then 18, 19, under 19B, we have DGs of the respective provinces in order of seniority. We move to 20 attorney generals, 20B, members of the public service, commission in order of seniority, and then we move to 21, 22, 23, 24, which is the spouses of the foregoing persons, those that are recognized by government, and then 25, we have whoever that the president may feel that he needs to be accorded that status of being level 25. So the levels go as far as rubric 25. And then we did a provincial order of precedence. Of course, we took it from the DERCO manual that we are using or that guides us. Provincially, we have the premier, we have the MECs, we have the provincial speaker, and so on, up to the wives of aforementioned persons. But in local government, the person who will be the most senior is the mayor, and then the next person in terms of seniority is the speaker, and then the next one is the deputy mayor, up to the heads of department. I think, Chairperson, that is where I will end for now in terms of the order of precedence. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mimi. I think it is clear to all of us. I will then take it back to the honorable members if they want to ask the questions of clarity on the presentation that has been put forward. Honorable members. Honorable members.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, this is a Swart Boy.
Honorable Ndombela.
Honorable Chair.
Honorable, can I take the hands first? Honorable Swartboy and Tombela. Honorable Tsele, is it ZL?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other take?
Changase.
Changase?
Hamba nini.
Any other member?
Usibhidla ngathi uyakhuluma sihlalo.
Your hand is raised, eh?
Hamba nini.
Honorable Peter? Operator?
Chairperson, are we allowed to ask questions as well?
Yes, yes.
After
yes.
members, with your permission, I'd like to ask a question. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Knight, Secretary.
No, not honorable. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry. Yes, the Secretary. I think these are 5 hands that are up at the moment. Can I then give the opportunity to Honorable Swartboy Ntombela?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, thank you for the presentation. It is a very empowering presentation, Chairperson, and even this workshop is so empowering. However, Chairperson, before I speak, I feel that it was going to be nice to have a workshop where we are in an area where we I mean in a nice area like a hotel or something. This visual workshop it disadvantages us a lot, Chairperson. So in future, I think it also affects the presenters themselves, because it's nice to be in a workshop where you also see the presenters at the same time, and also get the presentations in time. Chairperson, I just wanted to check the issue of the at the national level. The order of
Precedence.
the order of precedence, or the order of what?
Order of precedence.
And
The order of
the order of
proceedings.
Ibeke mntramu uzayiqoqa umimi.
the order of precedence. Uyayibona ukuthi ke mangisho wrong. I want to get clarity there. Why MPLs are regarded as less senior than the NCOP? I'm just thinking that you find that most of the NCOP they even join the government, even I mean the MPL joins the government even before a member of the NCOP, and the NCOP member becomes the most senior. If you can give me a clarity there. And also, can you also give, I think this one, it relates to that one of former President Thabo Mbeki and former President Zuma. Can you clarify why former President Zuma is more senior than former President Thabo Mbeki?
Is this the last one, Honorable Member?
Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Swartboy Ntombela, with your question. Can I move to Honorable
Thank you, Chair. Even though one joined slightly later, siyabonga kakhulu, it was quite an empowering presentation that we have received. And I'm glad that these presentations, or this presentation that we've been given, are governed by acts. Some of them, as lawmakers, we can be able to try and change some of the things that we are picking up. That for me just does not make much. I don't want to say it doesn't make sense, but it's slightly questionable. Because when you look at Rubrican 7B, it talks about the Speaker of the Provincial Legislature in the order of seniority. And then after the Speaker, you find your executive mayors, your MECs, your executive mayors, traditional monarchs, deputy speaker of the National Assembly, and then the deputy speaker of the provinces. I don't see them anywhere, so I'm not sure if they also feature under the deputy speaker of the National Assembly. Why would the deputy speaker be below the traditional monarchs, the executive mayors, and the MECs? For me, there seem to be something that does not that needs to be fixed. So one would like to know what could be done to deal with such anomalies that we see. Secondly, the question, I see that there is, I can't pick it up now. I was trying to find it here, where it talks about the province, where it talks about our traditional monarch, that according to the rules, the premier is senior than the actual monarch. But in the province, we do it the other way around. What effect might that have in the long run? Why can't? Because I know that as each province is able to set its own constitution and its own rules on how it's going to be governed. Is this part of the constitution? Is it constitutional according to our own rules of the legislature, or we are doing it just because it's a norm that we just following this normality? Obviously, uhlanga lomhlabathi is more senior than the premier. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kwaile. Honorable Ntshangase. Honorable.
Sorry, Sal. Chairperson, I want to pose a question of clarity on the provincial protocol, especially at the opening of the legislature. I just want to ask a question here. If the Premier has already arrived at the venue, why is everybody is allowed to enter at the same side or at the same part where the Premier has already arrived? As she said, it doesn't look good, but with protocol, is there a way where Umang Figurator can be allowed to enter on the other side where I won't be able to disturb the proceedings? Chair, I'm not sure. In our province, it seems like MPLs are not part of the proceedings of protocol, especially once we have the sitting or the inauguration or the opening. MPLs are like any other person that is attending the event. There's no clear understand. There's no clear plan with MPLs. The issues must be treated special, but to end up also now and then a protocol office and protocol members, and then bamelele, and then you don't know. Or one would say, no, I'm here for my MEC or I'm here for my whoever. And the last time I was even embarrassed when abantwana basendlunkulu, no one was attending abantwana basendlunkulu fanele bethola ukudla and all those things, because most of the were there and guests were there abahamba namayeni babo were there. It became very difficult. Ungasubona bengasadla abantwana basendlunkulu akasekho banakile. So for me, I think maybe I'll get a clarity because it becomes very clumsy. Ungasabona ukuthi kwenzakalani. The last one, Chair, if we having events outside the legislature, and I'll make an example where we went to, if I'm not mistaken, it was not Lady Smith, it was Redville. It was going to be a funeral, though I think it was, no, there was a president. And there was yes, a holding room. And yes, members were allowed to be there by the Premier and the MECs. But the protocol office, it was not nice. Then we want to know if protocol for us as MPR so that we will know. Because even the opposition, they tend to complain and say, ANC, this, it ends up to be a political matter.
Thank you very much, Whip. Can I call upon Honorable Spiller Sapet?
Thank you, Chair. My hand was not up. Bendibuza nje basihamba nini.
Yeah. Hambe siye.
eLondon.
Hayi sizohamba. Batshele sihlale ukuthi sizohamba.
uSpindla bose ulumhlonyana ngoku seyazithemba.
Sizohamba sonke.
Okay, thanks, honorable members. Udaba is the answer, which is correct. Can we then move to the Secretary of the Legislature, Nerusha?
Thank you, Chairperson. I think I have the same issues, similar issues raised by members, but I wanted to indicate that I think that the legislative sector is not taken as seriously in terms of the protocol. It looks like government has drafted the protocol, and so they only saw the protocol in terms of what exists mainly in government. So my question would be, how do these protocols get drafted, and how can we influence those changes? I know that in the legislative sector, we are looking at a handbook for presiding officers and sort of precedents around those things, but we know we're separate arms of government, but we cannot have separate precedents and protocols for the separate arms. They need to be considered holistically. So that's my one issue. The second issue is, if you say that I wanted some practical examples of how the National Order of Precedence works in specific events and just to get a sense of it. So I'm assuming that if the president is rubric 1A, then in any event, the president is the number one person, and anything that you do would prioritize the president, and of course in terms of seating and all of that. And so the same would happen with all of the different rubrics. When I say that I think government has taken care of itself, I see rubric 6G, your chief of state protocol is at rubric 6G, and your acting chief of state protocol is at 6H. You know, those are appointed officials. They're not elected representatives. My other concern is you have speakers of the provincial legislatures in order of seniority on 7B, just below deputy ministers. And yet when we do our provincial protocols, the last slide that you showed, you seem to have the premier followed by the MEC and the MECs and the speaker thereafter. Whereas in the national order of precedence, the MECs come after the speakers of the provincial legislatures, so that there should be some alignment. I know that you don't have much influence or as much influence at the national level, but at the provincial level, that should be taken into consideration. When I speak about the sector not being taken care of or considered holistically. I see also the rubric has the Secretary to the National Assembly as 19C and to the National Council of Provinces as 19D, yet the Secretary to Parliament doesn't seem to feature anywhere there. So that's a gap. Secretaries of the legislature don't feature. You got the cabinet secretary and you got the DGs of provinces, but you don't have the heads of the administratively of the different arms of the judicial services sector, as well as the legislative sector. So overall, I think, Chair, my comment would be that this exists. It seems that there are gaps, and I agree with Honourable Ntombela. The NCOP is not an elected house; it's an appointed house. I mean, they get onto the house through party nominations, but not and through house decisions. Not an election process. Yet the MPLs are much lower than the NCOP. So something is not right in the order. However, we respect it, but we need to find a way of rectifying it and regulating it properly. That would be my contribution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Thank you very much to the members. I think most of the members has raised the issue of inconsistency around the drafting of these protocols going forward at different spheres of government. I think also what has been raised by the Secretary to say, how is it get drafted and how do we influence it? Maybe if we get that one, it will assist us, because it is correct that it is drafted by the government and they are looking at that particular sphere of government most of the time. Hence, you see the inconsistencies where the national speaker comes after comes before the ministers, whereas here in the province, our speaker is being found so down after the MECs and so on. Maybe it's something that we have to look at, but some of the issues that has been raised, they are political in nature, in a sense that the presenters may talk to the presentations, but some of us, as Honorable Cele was indicating, that it's governed, it's us as the lawmakers that we have to change these inconsistencies that we see in these protocols. I can hand over to the presenter, Miss Mimi. Over to you. Yeah, your presentation was honorable. That's why you are being called honorable.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the members for the comments, the questions, and the concerns that they have raised. Maybe let me start with the first comments that were made by the member, Miss Uswartboy. Yes, it would have been nice if the workshop that we are having, it was on a face-to-face kind of a setup. But because of matters that are beyond our control, sincere apologies for that we cannot be meeting and in that kind of a setup. The first one, there is what is called the Order of Precedence and the Order of Proceedings, which I think the member was trying to talk about. The proceedings are like the running order for an event. For instance, when we talk about the Order of Proceedings, we will have that document as a secret document that is only shared with a few people who have something to do with the program. It will indicate that the holding room is in venue so and so has to arrive at this time, and this one will arrive, and then it will talk about the briefing that is normally done, and then it will talk about the main event, about the proceedings of the event as well, and up to the lunch and departure. That is what we call the Order of Proceedings. It's a detailed document that will indicate what is happening where and at what time. Then the Order of Precedence, like I said earlier on, it talks about the seniority between the government, if I may just summarize it. I must also indicate, Chairperson and members, that when we do protocol workshops, we are guided by this document. I hope you will see it. It is called the State Protocol and Official Etiquette. And the one that we are using, it's a 2019 copy, which is done by International Relations and Cooperation. Unfortunately, they don't consult us as a department, and they don't consult anybody. I don't know how they work, but this is what we have to follow at the end of the day. It's a very thick document, but it's very informative. It has about 257 pages or so. It has so much information. Maybe what I can do after this workshop, I will communicate with Nomkele and ensure that the members get it, because unfortunately we cannot send it via email because it is really thick. I'm sure it can help the members on a number of things. And also the issue of why MPLs are lower than the NCOPs. You will see, you would have noticed that when we talk about the Order of Precedence, when we talk about the national, about the parliament, most of the time, if not all the time, the national level is seen to be senior than a provincial level, according to the National Order of Precedence. So, which is why even the members, they are seen to be at a higher level compared to members at the provincial level. But of course, like I have said, it comes from the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. And as to why former President Zuma is senior than Beki, that is how it is done according to protocol. If maybe I can take it to a provincial level, you take the latest or the last premier who was in power as the one who is the most senior. So in our case, we will have Ubaba Umaxingwane being the most senior to the premiers, and he will be followed by Ubaba Umaxingwane, Minister Usenzo now. And then he will be followed by Ubaba Mkhize, followed by Ubabundebele, kanjalo kanjalo. That is how the level of seniority is done. So which is why for now, former President Babu Zuma is the most senior former presidents. And the other one, which talks about the Deputy Speaker of Legislatures, I think they are there in number 9E, Deputy Speakers of Provincial Legislatures in order of seniority, under rubric 9E. And then the Premier and His Majesty, why is His Majesty senior than the Premier? I think the chairperson has covered me, because some of these things we cannot answer them as officials. But if I can just make one example, I remember we were in an event where there was President Ubabu Zuma, the former president, and then there was His Majesty, and there was a traditional event that was there, and it was during Iskati when Ubaba Mkhize was the premier. So when the presidency or the officials from the presidency came, they wanted President Zuma to be the last one to speak according to seniority. But it became such an issue in such a way that it had to be taken to the president to say, President, but you are the president of the country. You cannot have somebody. Oops. Oh.
colleagues, so that we are mimic. You can talk, Mimi. Who is silent here?
Frezil.
Freeze. Oh, MZ.
Like
Manzini.
Yebo. Ujabe is like frozen.
Can we really assist where is the IT guys to assist so that she can come back and finalize the responses? Hey, it's like it's gonna close all of us now. Colleagues, are you there?
Ngikhona mina kodwa bona sengathi nami yabuya amalona.
Sikhona sihlalo, sikhona.
Khona.
Okay. Khona.
Khona so.
Oh, siyabonga.
Khona so.
Khona no MC okwa-8 yalana. Hey,
So bona sikhona.
unjani siswe?
Sikhona noma sidla befike eLondon bodwa nje. Befuna ukuya bodwa nje yosibhidla. Befuna ukuya eLondon bodwa nje yosibhidla. Noma gugu balana bazogada eLondon kanti bango-MEC.
Uhamba nabo.
I think
Uhamba sonke.
Mina bayalazi mphathiswa udaba akusilo lwalo nyaka. Hayi bayalwazi engikhuluma nabo.
Sizawungena ekesini lakho Ntombi. Sizawungena ngiyabhuka mina ngizawungena ekesini lakho.
Sikwi-6th administration.
Order members. Welcome to our MECs here with us today. Thank you very much. Last time we did get an apology for the MEC of Asia.
Hayi Pamela lithende litiye lakho liyingcwenge linjena nje.
Sibhidla bantu.
CPS ke bajini.
Can you guys when Mimi said?
Pamela.
Guys, you put the on the live call by asking him to respond to the political question. And then crash.
There's only cream. No more cream. I'll add it on top.
Ibe shushu.
Ukula libe shushu, that's why afake cream nje. Akafake ne-milk, ufaka i-cream.
Hayi man, sorry.
Can you put the mic on?
Sizova noba sophuza insangu sibhidla.
Are we getting Mimi back, colleague?
Yes, Chairperson, they are having a problem as the entire office is having network issues, but their IT is assisting them. They'll be back in a short time. Thank you.
Okay. It happens to us also with the Office of the Premier. The whole legislature was cut off and they were continuing on their side alone. Like today, we are continuing on our side, but their side is shut off by the network. MEC, Asia, and Health, I think your presence here will help us because we are no more having lunch in this meeting, you know. We are told that the economy is not allowing that. And also health-wise, the MEC for health must indicate whether is it fine like that. Colleagues, we shall be waiting a little bit to see whether they are coming back. But we had an experience of the office and the legislature. We usually have a problem if we are working together.
I think
Are we going
Ms.
to-
Etia,
Are we going to continue with usual? Why can't we identify the problem and deal with it?
I think the fiber cable MEC Etia uyihambisa ngemuva.
wesibhidla
You think that
ngcono ngoba uyayazi into ye-cable yongcono ngoba uyayazi into ye-fiber ungakuyiqale ntombi kazi uyiqale into ye-fiber
Mabafake i-5G, mabafake i-5G.
Ngemuva.
uyithethe into ye-5G xa ukhona usisipheki oh ngiyamfumana
Oh gosh.
Ngathi ubuyile uMimi.
Good afternoon, Chairperson.
Oh, okay.
Chairperson, can you hear me? Chairperson?
Welcome back. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. My apologies for the for the disturbance that we had. I don't know what happened, but it just went off to all of us. Chairperson,
What was the protocol if it is happening in the office of the Premier? Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Chairperson, with technology. I was just mentioning one issue of former president and His Majesty, where there was an issue of who is senior to who. And when the matter was taken to the former president, what he said and how he resolved it, he said, when he is in the province, he becomes the subject of His Majesty. So then what happened in that event is that the Premier spoke, the president spoke, and then His Majesty was the last one to speak. It's not written down, as we all know, but I think we have also seen it during events like OSOPA and the official opening of the legislature. And unfortunately or fortunately, it has not yet happened where the current president, President Ramaphosa, and His Majesty are in one event. So we don't know what will happen. But that is how former President Zuma resolved it, and the event went on. Okay, the third point that was raised was if the Premier has arrived in events like SOPA, why do we then allow other people to use that entrance? That is a serious challenge. Yes, I agree. It's not supposed to be done that way, because once the Premier is there, we know if you have been to places like Mhlambi, in National Assembly, once President aqala khulume, nobody else then is allowed to enter and so on. There's no disturbance which is allowed. I think kukhona okulekhayo amongst us as security and as protocol. There was also the issue of the holding room. Maybe what we can also indicate is that a holding room is used as a briefing, and it is used by the people who are participating in the program. So, which is why sometimes you'll find that members will not go into the holding room just because they are not participating in the program. So it's only the people who are participating who are then given a final briefing before the event starts. The one of the legislature not being taken seriously, And I don't think there's much that I can say on that one, Chairperson and members, except to say that as we are getting more and more exposed to state protocol and official etiquette, it also means that we also get to know what is expected of us in our different corners or in the different offices that we occupy, whether it's the members at the legislature, it's the MECs, it's the Premier and all other people. So I think this workshop is assisting in empowering us in getting to understand or in understanding better how far can we go in terms of what is it that is not expected of us as members, as government officials. I must also state, Chairperson and the members, that as the Office of the Premier, we started what is called the Provincial Protocol Forum, which is aimed at empowering the protocol officers in the different offices to get to understand their role. And we are trying very much so to discourage the protocol officers to only be there for their members and their members only. Like one will be there for the MEC and the MEC only. So if there's anything that goes right or goes wrong in the event, you will find that now they don't want to get involved. And that also disempowers them, because when somebody comes into an event and say, where do you want me to assist? Where can I assist? It helps that person in getting to understand the role that the person has to play. But also there is this thing of protocol officers that get changed time and again, especially when there is change of government. That also puts us on a back foot, because sometimes you will be talking with these people, and then the next time you are talking with people that you have never seen and people who have never been exposed to government, who know nothing about government. But we are trying our level best to empower our colleagues as well. We invite them all, including the legislature, including the districts and the local mayors. And they do come, but not all of them attend. The chief of the state protocol, being 6G, and the deputy chief being at 6H. Secretary, you will know that the document, it comes from DERCO, from International Relations and Cooperation, and that is where they put, or they are the ones who draft the order of precedence. Maybe it's high time then that we start engaging, the members can start engaging this document, especially where they feel that there are certain things that are not well aligned in the document. But the document that we are using is the latest version of the state protocol and official etiquette manual. The fact that the Secretary of the Legislature does not appear, we have noted it, and when we communicate with other officials, we will also raise it with them. But Chairperson and the members, thank you, and we appreciate your inputs, your comments, your questions. They also assist us in ensuring that in making us aware that there are certain gaps that still need to be filled by this protocol manual. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mimi. Yeah, but there is one question that just overlooked. The one you indicated around the issue of the premiers when they are at a national level, that they are in the same party. How do you determine their seniority? If they are still their current premiers, not that they are former premiers. You said also it goes according to priority. You prioritize them to say this one is senior, that one is.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. I'm sorry I missed that one out. But like it says, seniority is determined by date of appointment, by previous positions, by length of service in the organ of government held by that a particular person. So that is what they use at a national level to determine the level of seniority amongst the premiers.
Thank you very much. I think you have answered all the questions, and also we are noting the inconsistencies that are taking place, and we are noting that you said you will give the copy of this protocol to our coordinator so that we can get it and empower ourselves. And also the members have seen these inconsistencies. Maybe it's high time that we must really look at this document and try to make the proposal on it so that it is not, so that we cannot witness so many inconsistencies and also the protocols. And there's the people that are serving at a provincial level, Mimi. We can see that in the province, the protocol is really not taken serious. You can see events that are taking place, even the premier himself, you know, when he's coming, and then it's like it's not being really respected. Maybe if you can continue to share the experiences and the protocols with the people, but we have indicated that at the same time it's because of the changing of the people we are working with, so it weakens the protocols in the province. But we'll really appeal, because even ourselves as members of the legislature, we can see that sometimes we are like, you know, not taken as if the event that we are in is our event and so on. It's like we are just going past that, and we are being asked, who are you? Something of that sort. Maybe if you can try and strengthen those protocols so that we can understand the protocol, and also in particular with our premier and our leadership in the executive and the legislature to try and make sure that there is no gap around the issue of the protocol on the issue of the protocol that are taking place within our province. Because sometimes it's becoming a laughing stock when the other provinces are here in the province. I remember the time of the games, how the MPLs were treated in the province, and the other MPLs from the other provinces were respected, and so on and so forth. I think it's something that we need to work hard to try and make it work for our province. Thank you very much for your presentation and your response. We can move to the next. Hello?
Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay. Can we invite the next presenter?
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to the members of the KwaZulu legislature, as well as everyone that is attending the meeting. So basically what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do right now is I'm basically going to take you through the national symbols, which are the items that symbolizes the nation, which is Republic of South Africa. So what I'm going to go through will be the national symbols, namely the national anthem, the national flag, the national coat of arms, the provincial coat of arms, as well as the national animals that symbolizes our nation. So I'm going to start with the national anthem. The national anthem should be recited with appropriate respect and decorum. When the national anthem is sung, all should stand up straight in attention mode with hands on the side. So that is basically showing respect when the national anthem is sang, because it is like the prayer of the nation. And also no eating of food and chewing of gum is allowed when the national anthem is being sung. All male civilians must remove hats or any other headgear. The president takes national salutes on pronunciation by the commander, and the national salute is taken in honor of the country. The general salute is taken by military and police only when they are in uniform. National anthem is regarded as a prayer. After the singing of the national anthem, there is no opening prayer unless it is an interfaith prayer. So this basically means that when you are singing the national anthem on your event, there is no need to repeat and do the prayer item, because once you've sung the national anthem, it automatically means that you have prayed already, unless it is a prayer day or there is an interfaith prayer. There is no cheering or clapping at the end of the singing of the national anthem. So I'm not going to go through the lyrics of the national anthem because I would believe that we all are familiar with the lyrics. Our next symbol is the national flag. So I'm just going to go through the protocols when it comes to the national flag. So the flag should never touch the floor or the ground when it is hoisted. It also should never be used as a tablecloth or draped in front of a platform. You are also not allowed to use the national flag to cover a plaque or a statue, or at the unveiling or any similar ceremony. The national flag should never be used to start the race or finish any competition. It is insulting also to display the flag in a frail or dirty state. The same applies to the flagpole. So you must make sure that your flag is clean and it is displayed correctly. The flag should also not be used as an undercloth, a bath, floor mat, or any other similar demeaning use. It should also not be defaced by placing slogans or written or designs on the field of the flag. Also, the flag should be hoisted at the start of the working day and lowered before or at sunset. It is not to remain flying at night unless suitably illuminated. So basically, it means that your flag should not be flown when during the night when it is dark. So you must make sure that it is clearly visible. The flag should also not be displayed or flown upside down, because this basically means it is traditionally known as a sign of surrender. When the flag is displayed vertically against a wall, the red part of the flag should be at the bottom. And also, the host should be on the left of the viewer, and the red band should be at the top. When the flag is displayed next or behind the speaker at a meeting, it must be placed to the speaker's right. When it is placed elsewhere in the meeting, it should be to the left of the audience. The national flag should be half-masted as a sign of mourning only on the instruction from the president. So that is when you actually get to half-mast your flag, only when the instruction is given by the president. So I'm just going to go through the protocols of the flag as well in terms of when was it adopted. So the national flag of the Republic of South Africa was adopted on Freedom Day, the 27th of April, 1994. It was first flown on the 10th of May in 1994, the day Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as the president. So the most important thing about the flag is that the colors represent different meanings for different people. So therefore, no universal symbol should be attached to any color that appear on the flag. The central design of the flag, beginning at the flagpole, adopts a V form and flows into a single horizontal band to the outer edge, and may be interpreted as a convergence of diverse elements within South African society, taking the road ahead in unity. So how do we then fly the flag at an event? When the national flag is displayed vertically against the wall, the red band should always be on the left of the observer, with the hoist or the cord seam at the top. When it is displayed horizontally, the hoist should be to the left of the observer and the red band should be at the top. When the national flag is displayed beside or behind a speaker at a meeting or an event, it must be placed to the speaker's right. It must always be to the left of the viewing audience. When placed somewhere within the venue, it should be to the right of the audience as the audience faces the speaker. Okay, when the national flag is displayed together with any other flag, it must be hoisted first and lowered last. The national flags of other countries, all the flags should be of approximately equal size and must be flown at an equal height. The national flag of the Republic of South Africa must be on the right side of the building or platform. Any other flags on the same flagstaff, the national flag must always be on top. So we are going to look at some of the national symbols that we have. We are starting with the National Coat of Arms. So I'm basically going to go through the meanings for some symbols that do have meanings. So South Africa's coat of arms, or the state's of emblem, is the highest visual symbol of the state. It's the central image of a sacred bird with uplifted wings, the rising sun above it. Below the bird is the protea, an indigenous South African flower representing the aesthetic harmony of all the cultures and the country flowering as a nation. The ears of the wheat are emblems symbolizing the fertility of the land. The tusk of the African elephant symbolizes wisdom and steadfastness and strength. Nobgiri representing the defense of peace rather than the posture of war. Within the shield are images of the Khoisan people, the first inhabitants of the land. The figures are derived from the images of the Lonson Stone, a world's famous example of South African rock art. Okay, and then we also have our provincial symbols, which is the provincial coat of arms, which was adopted in 2004. The zigzag division of the shield. So I'm just going through the meanings to the picture or the image that you see. The zigzag division of the shield refers to the Drakensberg Mountains, which are green in summer and snow-capped in winter. The white star refers to the birth of Christ and thereby to Natal, which means birth, the name given to the region in 1479 by Vasco da Gama. The Strelitzia flower has been the symbol for the province for a long time and represents the beauty of the province. The shield is covered by a traditional beehive-style hut, which is still used in rural areas. The assegai and nobgiri are traditional symbols of authority and are placed behind the shield. The shield itself is the traditional Zulu shield, and it is also seen as the arms of the former homeland, KwaZulu. The lion is the traditional African symbol for kings and rulers, and the wild beast is taken from the old coat of arms of Natal. The motto, which we are all familiar with, means let us rise and build. We also have national animals. So these are animals that basically symbolizes our nation, the Republic of South Africa. So we have the springbok, which is the South Africa's national animal. The springbok derives its common name from its characteristics, jumping, display, or pronk in Afrikaans. The species has adapted to dry, barren areas and open grass plains. We also have the national bird, which is blue crane, the distribution of which is almost entirely restricted to the country, standing about a meter tall. The bird is a light blue-gray with a long neck supporting a rather bulbous head, long legs, and elegant wings, plumage which sweeps to the ground. We also have the national flower, the giant or the king protea is South Africa's national flower and is the largest to the proteas, which make up an important part of the Cape Flora region, a major global diversity hotspot and UNESCO World Heritage Site. We also have the national fish, which is the Caucasian selected because of its endemism. It is found along the coast from Namibia to Durban and nowhere else in the world. We also have the national tree, the real yellowwood, which is South Africa's national tree. The yellowwood is family ancient, having grown in the parts of Africa for more than 100 million years. In forest, these trees are able to grow up to 40 meter in height, with the base of the trunk sometimes up to 3 meter in diameter. However, trees growing in unsheltered areas such as mountain slopes are often short, bushy. Chairperson, I am going to stop there with the national symbols that we have in our country. Thank you.
Very much. Can you request the second presenter, Mimi?
Thank you, Chairperson. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, can you hear me on your side? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. We will quickly move on to the next presentation, which talks about the national orders, which are the highest awards that a country, through its president, that can be bestowed upon a citizen and also on eminent foreign nationals. There is a certain process that is followed for people to be given these awards. Firstly, it starts with the presidency, whereby there will be, they usually use the media to invite named people who may be given awards each year. And then they will also want a person to indicate or to support why such and such a person should be awarded with that a specific award. Usually it's the DG.
Are we having the same problem again? Colleagues, are you there? Are you there, colleagues?
Yes.
Chairperson is corner.
Okay, we can continue.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about that. I was saying there is a process that is followed in nominating people to be given the awards. It starts in the presidency, the DG or the Director General in the presidency being the Chancellor, inviting nominations together with letters of support as to why a certain person has to be awarded, has to be given that specific award. There are 6 awards. Some of them have got the gold and the silver awards, and bronze. But I'll just look at the Order of Mapungubwe, which is awarded for excellence and for exceptional achievement. There are so many people who have been given these awards, as it is done on a yearly basis. Okay, but we have just mentioned to the late Minister Edith Mlewa, who was given the award posthumously, as well as Dr. Nelson Mandela and many other people who have been nominated and have been given the awards. There is the Order of Baobab, which is awarded.
Close sign.
Okay, which is awarded for for people who are distinguished in business and the economy, as well as science, medicine, technological innovation, and community service. One of them being our Professor Salim Abdul Karim from the province, and Dr. Richard Maponya, and many other people. There is the Order of the Companions of OR, awarded to heads of state and other dignitaries for promoting peace, cooperation, and friendship towards South Africa, We've mentioned Mr. Semno Joma, the former president, Walter Khotso Magulu, and other people. There's Order of Lutuli, awarded to South Africans who have made a meaningful contribution to the struggle for democracy, for human rights, for nation building, for justice, for peace and conflict resolution. We've just made one example of the late Dr. Kozam Kojo. We have also mentioned Inkosi Mhlabunzima Joseph Mapumulo, who was awarded posthumously. There is Order of Ikamanga, which is for excellence in arts, culture, literature, music, journalism, and sport. We have people like Ochet Leclos from the province, though he no longer stays in the province. We have people like Mama Ubusisiwe Mhlongo, the late, Ray Piri, Hugh Masegela, and others. Order of the Mendi, decoration for bravery. This one is given for to South Africans who have performed extraordinary acts of bravery. We've just made an example of Inkosi Bambata Gamanxenza Zondi. We have also mentioned Solomon Kalushi Mahlangu, and there are other people as well who have been given these awards. Chairperson, I will end there for now. Thank you. I should think. Chairperson? Yes, Chairperson. I have ended my short presentation on national orders.
Okay. Can I invite the members to ask the question of clarity, and then we move to the next items? Please, if we can just summarize, because we'll request that you send us the presentations. If you can just summarize, zoom to the key areas so that the members can have the time to answer, because now it's going to 14 hours. Some of our members requested to leave at 14 hours as the schedule was from 12 to 14 hours. Colleagues, can you ask questions of clarity and then request the other presentations? Yes. I'm sharing.
Silent Chair.
Honorable, can I request Uswar Boy abe esqhubela la basangifotela la? Uswar Boy, please, can you? Can I request Honorable Swart Boy to chair in the meantime the discussions? They are phoning me from the IT. There is a problem this side.
Okay, Chairperson. Can we have the next presentation, please?
Discuss, Chair.
Oh, we're still discussing this one. Okay. Can you show your hands? Those who want to comment. Honorable Taile, is there anyone else?
Yes, Honorable Chair Mapena.
Honorable Mapena and Honorable Makosaza Nazungu.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've got 3 hands at the moment. Can we start with you, Honorable Taile? Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. This document is really empowering, Chair. We would like to thank you, Uhlalo, Caucus, Women's Caucus, for affording us such presentations. But on the document, looking that it's a document, a protocol and symbols and national flags. I do believe that we definitely need to engage this document, and some of the things need to be corrected. On the presentation of the national flag, it does not sit well with me when you read the introduction where it says adopted on Freedom Day, 27 April 1994 first flown on the 10th May 1994, the day Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as president. For me, Nelson Mandela cannot be called Nelson Mandela in this document. As a former president of the country, and looking at the fact that it's a document that talks about protocol. So I do believe that he should be afforded a certain dignity in this document that talks about protocol. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kale. Can we have Honorable Mapena?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I would, if I could be assisted by the person with the presentation, I wanted to look at the KwaZulu-Natal in particular, Chair. There was a part about Dagama that I didn't quite get. Kaguhle. I think maybe because symbols are also part of our social cohesion and nation building, maybe it's a discussion that we need to take forward because, Chairperson, we are in many processes as a nation of rebuilding, and I think there are some things that were done, for the unity and the betterment of things, but there are some issues. I don't know where we would take such discussions where, you have an incorporation of a Vasco da Gama's something in what becomes the new nation, which is South Africa. I've seen it in many instances, even in our own building, how some of the things that still exist. But I just wanted to mention Vasco da Gama, and where do you take a discussion or of such a nature? But it's just part of what would be museum and what must be appearing as a new nation of South Africa. It's the same thing of Natal and other things that come up that we just needed to discuss. I wanted to say that maybe perhaps there are other things that come up out of this that make us want to have more of a social cohesion type of conversations, because there are some things we need to discuss and there are some histories that are worthy to be noted, but should they form part of our emblem of a new nation? There is a discussion I'd like to have at some point. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Swartboy. I think we must get the last member that the hand was up, and then we have the response and move to the next presentation.
Thank you, Chairperson. It's just a slight question that I want to raise. It relates to the national anthem, to be precise. I have noticed, I've been noticing, I think it's a practice that is normally done, that when we open or we sing national anthem, when we're opening our events, we'll normally have maybe other people to pray after it. So I'm checking if isn't that preaching the way it's supposed to be done. Also, the other question that I wanted to raise was in relation to two national anthems. The national anthem that we have is South African and the African Union one. Hence, we are coming from still in the month of, we are still celebrating Africa, freedom of Africa. We get confused sometimes to say which one comes first when we have to do them. But also, I think it should be clear. It should be explained clearly or put in a clear context whether is it wise to use them both, or you separate them, you start with the other one or end with the other one. But the issue of the prayer, of observing the prayers, different religions, also is key. It has to be explained when we had opened with the national anthem. That's where I wanted to get clarity from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that was the last hand. on the contribution. I will then give back to the presenters to respond to it. But on the issue of the national anthem, I think it is important to understand that when the presentation was done, they indicated that you only pray when you are doing the interfaith. It can't be a religion just coming to pray after this one. But can we get the responses and then we'll move to the next items? Thanks to the honorable members for their question. And also, I think there is a suggestion on it's a political one that was raised by Honorable Tsele as well as Mapena on the issue of the people that we are including during this time of our democracy. I think also we must remember that that was a compromise for that time, but do we still need to continue like that, to embrace, even those that oppressed the people of the majority of the people of this country? Over to you, presenters. Mimi and Nomhle.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Maybe if I can start with the last one that was raised by the member on AU anthem. AU anthem, when we have the AU anthem and the South African anthem, we first sing the AU anthem and then the national anthem is the last one to be sung. But I must also indicate, Chairperson, that there is something which is not very clear on the use of AU anthem, though we only use it for the month of May, which is Africa Month. And unfortunately, the presidency has failed to give us a clear clarity in terms of how we should be using the AU anthem. And as a result of that, we only use it only for the month of May. But there's still a lot that they could not respond to us regarding the use of AU anthem. Then I think you have also this one of the prayer after the anthem. I think the chairperson has responded to that one. And also other matters or issues that are indicated in the document that we use. We are happy that chairperson, we have met with the chairperson and the members, and you have raised such concerns. I must indicate on our side that sometimes it gets a bit difficult to get hold of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. I remember at some point it took me almost a year to get them to come to the province. And I had to go to Pretoria for them to come. But I did so much in terms of corresponding with them and so on. So there are things that on our side we cannot really respond to because we have to take a cue from them. Even this document that we have, we only managed to get it just because we also, as the Office of the Premier, I remember there was also a colleague from the legislature. We participated in the inauguration of President Ramaphosa, and that is when we were given this document. Otherwise, if we were not there, we would not have been able to access this document. And we were told that this is the latest version. Also regarding the use of, not indicating that Dr. Nelson Mandela is the former president. Our apologies, that is a mistake on our side. We should have indicated, because when we talk about Dr. Nelson Mandela, we always, because of his stature, we always indicate that he's the former president, and then he was given that doctorate, which we use as well. But we really appreciate the patriotism that is being shown by the members, because as we're doing this, we are also trying to promote patriotism as well. We are really happy that we have members now who can be able to take the matters even up to the relevant department. Let me stop there. Do you want to say something, Nontle? Nontle is covered. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything from Nonsense?
No, I'm covered, Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Besengizobonga Chair ukuthi bese ngizobonga nokuthi basizile lezi zinto ziyavela nakuma-homework ey'ngane ngiyazi benixakeka yabo manje seniyawazi ama-national bird nama-national fish siyabonga sibonga kakhulu.
Thank you very much. But if I can ask one question about the flag that must be clear. I once in one of the schools in Reservoir Hills, I saw a very dirty African flag being put there. How do you make sure that you monitor that the national flag does not being jeopardized? In one of the schools, it was terrible.
Chairperson, what we do when we meet with the protocol officers from the different departments, one, we meet in the provincial protocol forum. Two, we meet when we have workshops. Three, we have a WhatsApp group for the protocol officers. We always indicate that if a person is in the Department of Agriculture, that person is responsible for the national symbols and the correct use of for the Department of Agriculture. One who is in Department of Health is responsible for the national symbols that are being used in the Department of Health. But the shortfall might be caused, of course, by the problem that we sometimes experience of people who are changed time and again, of officials who are changed time and again, and others who don't seem to understand, who don't want to come to party when we are inviting them for workshops.
Okay, no, thank you very much. It means to say it's a Department of Education that must really look after the flag and also assist the school to say to change it if it is old and torn apart. You know, I was very much embarrassed. Unfortunately, it was after school. There was no one when I was going past. I wanted to enter and ask. I see Honorable Speaker Sapeta.
Thank you, Chair. Can I make a proposal on the issue of the AU anthem?
Yes.
Or we are going to do that towards the end?
Sorry, Chair.
Hayi angisamuza Nhlobo ke mina usihlala ngazi noma abanye bayamuza kodwa ngiyakhuluma.
Chairperson, can you unmute your mic?
No, I'm on. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's that noise that was coming on your side, on the other side. I'm saying that because the presentations on the order of precedence, the national symbols and the national orders, if you want to come up with the recommendations, we can make it there, and then we take the other presentations, discuss, and have the suggestions if there are any. Over to you, Honorable.
Thank you, Chair. I hear Umimi saying that the AU anthem is only sang during the month of May, I guess to promote Africa Month. But the national government in their MTSF priority number 7 speak about a better Africa and better world, meaning that as South Africa, we have a responsibility to ensure that we build people-to-people relations in the continent and the world. So if we are going to only recognize Africa as a continent during the month of May, we won't be doing justice to that priority outcome of the MTSF of the national government. I therefore propose that Umimi and her team in their platforms where they discuss these matters, they put to the protocol teams that KwaZulu-Natal is proposing that the AU anthem is sang throughout the year and kids are taught the AU anthem at school level so that they understand the agenda of this government of building the better Africa and a better world. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker Sapeta, for the suggestion. I think and the team will take this forward as a suggestion for Natal because it really needs to be taught in the schools so that our kids, they are patriotic.
Thank you, Chair. I was wondering which portfolio committee sits, or can this caucus, women's caucus committee, can be able to send our proposals and suggestions that members are making on the document to the relevant committee, like the Department of International Relations subcommittee in the National Assembly. Perhaps we need to forward, because some of these things that are here are pertinent. That is why we are being taught, and that's why the protocol is part of what the state does. So since we have picked up these anomalies in the document, can we therefore suggest that it must be forwarded to the Department of International Relations committee in the National Assembly? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. It's another suggestion to say that we have to forward these recommendations, but we know that as Multiparty Women's Caucus, we are not a portfolio committee. I think it must first start in our legislature and then goes to national, as the colleagues are proposing, like that one that Honorable Speaker Sapeta has proposed. It also talks to Department of Education to say how can they really promote this at schools, so that also when it's being taken at a national level too as a suggestion, but also in our province, we are leading by example to what we are proposing to the national. Thank you very much, colleagues. I think the officials are noting all these recommendations.
Honorable Chair.
Can I see the hand? Oh no.
Honorable Chair.
Full response.
Yeah, I think another department that's very pertinent is the Department of Arts and Culture, because this department does a lot of this promotional work as well, whether it's for anthem, because it's part of culture. So it's also a department that we can engage on a lot of these matters.
Yes. Thank you very much, Honorable. I think this is relevant. Our officials will take it when we sit down as a steering committee. I think our officials will assist us to identify the departments that we have to send. The Plaque has indicated that the Department of International Relations can also assist on that, even to influence these protocols, because Mimi indicated that DERCO is the one that is dealing with these protocols and so on. They are not sure how do they deal with it and how is it being input so that it really represents something that we all happy about it, not the inconsistencies that we have identified in these protocols that has been presented before us today. I think now we can move, colleagues, to the next presentations. Please, can we really summarize the presentations? Now we move to official forms of address by Siyabulela Mlandu. Please come forward. Can you summarize the presentation? And you also move to the second one. And then Nontle will come also after you. And then Mimi will come and then you'll have discussions. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Oh, Sihlalo ngiyazwakala?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. My name is Yabulela Mlandu. I'm going to go over the official forms of address and the official portraits. There's a difference between written and verbal forms of address. For example, when an envelope is addressed to a person in office, the spouse of that person may not be included. With effect from 1 June 1985, a decision was taken by Cabinet that no person in office should bear the title Honorable, with the exception of judges who are addressed as Your Honorable. The term Honorable is only used for judicial leaders as well as by the members of Parliament whilst in session. The term Your Excellency may be used for foreign ministers or ambassadors. And then the term Your Worship is used for mayors. Now, we have made a brief list of some of the forms of address, some of the examples. For example, in speaking, it might be different to how it is going to be in writing or on invitation. So the President one, in speaking, you would say Mr. or Madam President. And then on invitation, extended by letter to a PA, it should be Mr. or Madam President. The First Lady only applies to a spouse to the President. For example, in the province, you usually hear people saying the First Lady, for example, to a spouse of a premier, of which that does not happen. And then in speaking, it is Mr. or Sir or Madam. On invitation, it's Mr. or Mrs. In written salutation, it would be Dear Mr. or Dear Madam. And then a judge is Judge Sir, Madam when they are out of court, My Lord when they are in court. Honorable Miss or Honorable Mr. Justice on invitation, or in written salutation, Dear Sir, or Dear Madam, Dear Judge. The King, Bayede, Silo Samabandla, Hlangalom Hlabathi. Now that is in speaking on invitation and in written salutation. And then a Queen is Her Royal Highness in all three levels, in speaking, on invitation, and in written salutation. The Premier is referred to as Mr. or Madam Premier, and in invitation extended as well, it would be Mr. or Madam Premier, and then the surname of the name and surname of the Premier. And then a wife to the Premier, a Minister or MEC, or let me say a spouse to the Premier, Minister or MEC is Mr., Mrs., or Sir or Madam. The Speaker of the Legislature, it's Mr. or Madam Speaker, or Mr., Mrs., or Miss. Members of Parliament, it is Sir or Madam, Mr., Miss, Ms., and MPL. Now that is in invitation and on written salutation. Members of the Executive Council, it's Mr. or Madam or MEC. In speaking, on invitation, and in written salutation. Thank you. That is where the forms of address are ending. I will move over to the official portraits. The official portraits, only approved photographs as supplied by the GCIS may be used. Official portraits that are displayed together must be the same size. Now, these are the protocols of these portraits that we see in our organizations. The framing and matting of the photographs should be identical. Photographs should be evenly spaced and arranged in order of precedence. The person with the highest order of precedence occupies the center position when there are an uneven number of photographs. Now, the order of precedence appears here again, as we had heard the earlier presentation by Usis Mimi. When two photographs are displayed, the person with the highest order of precedence should be on the viewer's left. Now we are going to see examples of this, Chairperson, in the following slides. Photographs should be displayed at the point of greatest visibility, for example, opposite the door through which a room is entered. Photographs should be displayed at eye level. The official photographs is an indicator of the level of government the specific office is reporting to. If space does not allow all photographs to be displayed on the same wall, then the photograph of the President, Deputy President, and the Premier may be displayed on one wall, which is the most prominent wall, and those of the Minister and Deputy Ministers on a separate wall. And then we do not place a plaque on the photo frame indicating the principal's name, as this should be a known fact. Solani, please turn over to the official portraits where the members can see the portraits. Okay. For example, official portraits, this is option 1. 2 photos, the most senior to the left of the viewer and the next senior to the right. Now we can see we have the President and the Deputy President. Because it is two photos, the most senior, which is the President, is going to be on the left of the viewer, and then the Deputy President, the next senior to the right. And then you see that it becomes different on the following slide where we have 3 photos. The most senior in the middle, the second to the left of the viewer, the third to the right of the viewer. We have the President in the middle, we have the Deputy President, and then we have the Minister. Now this shows the order of precedence as well, who is most senior going down, President, the Deputy President, and then a Minister. And then in provincial government, this is how the 3 photos should be placed. It is the President, the Deputy President, and the Premier. The most senior in the middle, which is the President, the second to the left of the viewer, Deputy President, and the third to the right of the viewer, which is the Premier. So you can automatically see that this presentation, the most senior person is the President, then the Deputy President, then the Premier. And then national and provincial government, and option 4, when we have 5 principals, the most senior in the middle, which is the President, and the Deputy President, the Premier, the Minister, and the MEC. And then in local government, we will have the Mayor, the Speaker, and the Deputy Mayor. Okay, thank you, Chairperson. I'll stop there because that's where my presentation ends.
Thank you very much, sir. Can I call upon Nonhle to deal with the presidential? Over to you, Nonhle.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Gazal? Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to go through the guidelines when it comes to presidential protocol as well as the provincial protocol. I'm going to be very brief. The presidential protocol, the head of state of the Republic of South Africa is addressed as the president. So, but only when the president is in a parliamentary session, he is addressed as the Honorable President of the Republic of South Africa, followed by his name. So this is only done. We only address the president as Honorable when he is in parliamentary session. But in verbal and in writing, we say His Excellency, the President, followed by his name. So the guidelines when it comes to presidential protocol, if ever you have a request to invite the President to be the guest of honor at a function or a ceremony, you need to address that with his private secretary, and therefore thereafter the secretary will make necessary consultation and also advise the president's availability and also provide protocol requirements attached to that. The president's protocol office will also contact the individual requesting the meeting, and also the person that will be extending an invitation to the president. So that's the person that would respond on behalf of the presidency. Should the president attend an event, function, or ceremony, the master of ceremonies or the program director should also announce the fact that the president has arrived, and also ensure that all guests should rise and only sit when the president has seated. Once the president is seated, the host sits on the president's right. So the next senior to the president sits to the right side of the president, as it has been shown earlier by Usiabule. Upon meeting the president, one should take the president's right hand, which means that the president should be at the center, the next senior should be on the right side of the president, and the second senior should be on his left. I'm going to go through the provincial protocol as well. So the most senior in the province will be the premier, and also according to the rubrics that we have. So when you address the premier, the MECs and ministers, when they are in parliamentary session, you say the honorable followed by their full names, but only when they are in parliamentary session. When they are not in parliamentary session, you address them by using their titles and designations, such as Mr. Zigalala, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. Addressing the members of the parliament. So in the province, members of the parliament are referred to as members of the provincial legislature. I am going to end the chairperson with my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monte. I think now we have to request the leader of the delegation, Mimi, to come at the end, and then we ask some questions. Yes, Mimi.
Chairperson, I'm going to take over for now, since he is out or he's back.
Royal protocol, come in, Mr. Mlando. Can you come in, Mr. Mlando?
Oh, Chair, is back. Continue.
Okay, my apologies, Chairperson. It was the call of nature.
Okay.
The last part talks about the royal protocol or the traditional protocol. I will try and summarize as much as possible, but also it starts with when His Majesty has been invited, that the host has to receive His Majesty at the door. And it's important that when you receive him, you do not extend your hand first, but allow him to be the one who extends his hand. Again, you cannot touch him or hug him. And when His Majesty is about to arrive at an event or function, all the guests should be seated so that there is order. And his arrival is normally announced by a praise singer. Then, as he walks in, he will walk in with the host and the security with the praise singer in front. And all people stand up when His Majesty enters the room. And once His Majesty takes his seat, women sit, but men remain standing until the praise singer is finished with the hailing. The king is the last to arrive and the first to leave in an event. And it's important that we always provide a holding room for His Majesty that will be only used by His Majesty. And again, there should be no moving around when the praise singer is reciting or is hailing the king. His Majesty will always be seated on the right side of the host, and should a queen be attending, a queen will be seated beside him on his right. But the protocol from the royal household, they normally assist in that regard. And then there are ways of addressing His Majesty. The King, His Majesty Silo Ingonyama, Hlanga lomhlabathi, isilo samabandla, ngangezwe lakhe Mbube, nomthobe wesizwe, Mdlokombane, izulu eliphezulu, and so on. It is forbidden to refer to His Majesty by his first name or names. Then, when the king is hailed, it is usually done in Wena Wendlovu, Bayede, and then the audience will follow. And then the queens on Ndlunkulu are normally referred to as O Queen. Then the princes and or princesses from the royal household are called Ondabezitha, and only traditional leaders from the Mbata and Biela clans are addressed as Ondabezitha. The other traditional leaders, when they are being addressed, the clan names are used, or is Thakazelo, or else you can refer to them as Inkosi yesizwe saseMaqadini, Inkosi yesizwe saseMadungeni, and so on. When you are hosting His Majesty, you don't use the black cloth, as it is associated with death. And then, the colors to be used are royal blue and royal maroon and other colors, but you avoid black as much as possible. And then those who are seated, the guests seated next to the king, should not be seated in such a way that their backs are facing the king. Okanye ukuflathela ubayede. You have to try and avoid sitting in such a way. When His Majesty has to speak, the person who is the most senior is the one who then presents His Majesty, and then to the audience, and then His Majesty will speak. And then once His Majesty speaks, no one else is supposed to speak. The only person who can speak is someone who is doing a vote of thanks, or a person who's making announcements. And while the king is eating, no photographs can be done, and he should not be disturbed. And guests, especially the ones who are seated on his table, should not move or finish their food before His Majesty finishes. And people cannot leave the venue before His Majesty. And okay. Generally, it is not permitted to touch or hug His Majesty, as well as Ondlunkulu. The seat adjacent to His Majesty within a venue must always be occupied. The host will communicate any program or procedural changes to the designated official and not to His Majesty. We don't communicate directly to him, but to the person who is a senior. And the king cannot be asked questions that will be referring to the queens or to his children. And one other thing regarding interviews, it is not generally permitted to conduct interviews with His Majesty. He will say what he wants to say, and then no questions to be asked. And if a person wants to visit His Majesty, that can be done through his office, through conducting his office, but also it can be done by going directly to the royal house, the royal palace, whereby a person will be met by a protocol officer or induna of the palace, and then the person will indicate what he wants to or she wants to discuss with His Majesty. And then the Induna will take that conversation to His Majesty. And it may take time. I mean, there is no specified time in terms of when His Majesty might grant a person an appointment. It depends on His Majesty. Again, it's important to remember that royal palaces are sacred places, and therefore, when you are walking in such a place, it's important that you get guidance by Induna or the by Induna. Then you will be directed as to where to park by the security personnel. Most of the time, they will tell visitors to park outside the palace, but if they allow you to park inside, then it's really up to Induna. Then, when you are at the palace, remember to always work on the left-hand side. It's only the president and the premier of the province who can walk on the right-hand side. You lower your voice, no umbrellas are allowed, no whistling, keeping of hands in pockets, or carrying them on your back. You don't do that when you are at Godlweni. And then you also, when you enter a building, it's important that the leader of the delegation that is coming to meet with His Majesty will first hail the king, and then others will follow. And then women are exempted from saluting. And you don't knock at the door, and you take off your shoes unless you have been advised otherwise. You don't just pick a chair which is next to you, but you allow to be given a chair where to sit. And then Induna then will do the introductions and will indicate what your matter is to His Majesty. Then it will be up to His Majesty whether he wants to talk to you directly or whether he wants to talk to you via Induna. And when you are being introduced, you remember you don't stand up. You sit as you are seated, as you have been shown a chair where to sit. When His Majesty has then made a decision on a matter, you cannot continue asking questions or make any remarks. Okay, what is also important is that when a person is there, you try and follow the protocol that is followed by Induna, by Abantwana, or by other people who understand the Zulu culture. Chairperson, I had to try and rush through this presentation. And also what is important is the issue of a dress code when visiting His Majesty, the palace. Remember, for women, trousers are not allowed, see-through dresses are not allowed, black is not allowed, a full black is not allowed, not unless you are in mourning. And there is also a protocol that is followed when there is a death in the royal household in terms of how His Majesty is informed, because you cannot just take a phone and call him and tell him that this and that has just happened. But the message has to be carried by the people who are clear to him. Also to say that His Majesty does not work alone, but there are also Abantwana that are usually around him who act as his advisors and other royal household members who advise him on certain matters. I think, Chairperson, this is where I will stop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mimi and your team. Can I then request the honorable members that
Honorable Mapena's chair.
We can make suggestions, honorable members.
Honorable Mapena.
I will give you the opportunity. I'm just requesting that when we deliberate, but the protocols that are coming from the royal household, we can't amend anything to that one. We have to focus on the government one because that one is for the royal house. Thank you very much, Mapena.
Thank you.
The next one is Honorable Matola. Any other colleagues? Honorable Mapena Matola. Okay.
Mabathule abo bobabini.
Honorable Mapena, can you contribute, ma'am?
I'm intimidated, Chair, but it's fine. Chairperson, I was just wanting to say, I think I was a bit confused. I saw in Siabulela, he spoke about His Excellencies and it related to Abo Premier or something. But then again, when Sis Nontle did it, I saw His Excellency coming back to what I know to be for the President. I don't know whether I might have misunderstood what was going on there, but in his presentation, His Excellency was not next to the name of the President, but to other dignitaries. And I had assumed that His Excellency is solely for the President. I think you've said we can't speak about the royal protocol.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go further, but I wonder if each province has its own royal protocol or its national royal protocol. I mean, Chairperson, just as a comment in passing, finishing food before, it's one thing not to leave the table, but finishing food, I'm just saying, Chairperson, it's fine though.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable Mapena. It's a clarity on this excellency, but yeah, it's something that must be clarified. And also, Honorable Majola, you have got something to say?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This has been a good presentation, especially the one that is talking about how to display our leadership, especially after each and every administration. You would see that most of the time you visit our municipalities or you visit our districts, where you will see that there is absolutely no change as far as the leadership that is supposed to be displayed, and even the manner of displaying them. At least now, without saying you need them to be displayed, at least we are being empowered as to who is supposed to be where, instead of just being placed there, or else they are not even there. It's always not something that is good to see that there is absolutely no agency of change in everything or of compliance according to the placement of the leadership against the walls, so that everybody could understand what is it that is actually happening now. So I would say, to me, it has been a good learning curve as far as that is concerned, and it should be taken down, because most of the time where it is not actually happening, it's not happening at our district at all. I think most of members that have been visiting our districts, whether on oversight, it's something that we have identified. That was my submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mine is just a small question. Not clear the on.
My hand is up, Chair.
Now, there were two hands. You said they must. Honorable Speaker Sapeta, can you come in and then I make my comment?
Thank you, Chair. I note the point that you made, Yoguti, we can't amend the royal protocol. But I want to request the legislature working with the Premier's office to clarify the protocol around the what is it, the day one of the legislature, uma kukhona imbube. Umimi is saying that when the imbube sits down, women are expected to sit down as well. The rules of legislature do not allow us to sit down until the speaker guides us to do that. So it's either we suspend the rules of the legislature on day one and work on the royal protocols, or we work with the rules of the legislature on both days. If we respect the rules of the legislature, it means on day one as well, the highest person who speaker that we need to follow the instructions zakhe on that day, not any other person. So sacela ke leyo matter ke bayoyidiscussa and come back to us ukuthi ba-advise ukuthi kwenzakale kanjani. Ngoba it always confuses us, especially women on the day.
Thank you very much. I think this is important because the rules of the legislature is a real protocol in the legislature, because that protocol, I think, that is outlined, it affects us in the legislature as well, also when we are visiting the royal family. Okay, thank you very much. We want to check the protocol on the Premier. When the Premier is giving, let me say, is giving the State of the Province address, are we expected to stand up as the members of the legislature, or we just sit down? Or it's only those that want to stand up that can stand up? Because it really confuses sometimes when we are in the legislature, the Premier is standing up to address us, and then others sit down, others stand. What is the protocol that we have to follow going forward, so that we cannot have the challenges of disrespecting the protocols that we are supposed to implement? I take it the protocols that you have presented, most of them, it's like the policy of government. But are these protocols enforceable? If you are not implementing it or following it, what will happen to you? Is there any, consequence? That's consequence management that can happen if you fail to observe this protocol. Thank you. Over to you, presenters. Mimi and the team.
Thank you, Chair. I'll go to the first one, to the first point. His Excellency, yes, the President is referred to as His Excellency. I stated foreign ministers and ambassadors, which are referred to as Your Excellencies. And for example, Chairperson, if you as a member of Parliament would be in a meeting with the President and foreign ministers, you would also be referred to as Your Excellency. But if you are in Parliament and not in that meeting or that setup, you would not be referred to as Your Excellency, but you would be referred to Honorable Member and so forth. When it comes to the official portraits, Chairperson, thank you for the comment made by the Honorable Member. Yes, really, it is a problem, especially when it comes to our municipalities, whereby whenever there is a change in the administration, our municipalities at times will say they do not have the budget to change and so forth. And at times they display them but incorrectly. And there are different sizes as well that are displayed on the walls. But Chairperson, what we do is that we do these workshops to all the municipalities within the province. We go around, we do these workshops, we invite the district and local municipalities so that we have an interaction and we give guidelines as to the display of all of these portraits, because they are official portraits. And then moving on to the last, I think, concern where when the Premier, for example, if it is the opening of Parliament and so forth, and the Premier walks in, I believe, Chairperson, the rules of legislature should apply here. If in the legislature members do not stand, then I believe that's what they could do. But because it does happen, they do stand, then that's what should happen. But Chairperson, I think the legislature could assist us better on this one because they know the rules of legislature and so forth. I'll hand over to Mrs. Mimi. I'll stop there, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think what I will cover is just the one which talks about consequence management. If the rules are not followed, if the correct rules are not followed, maybe the legislature can come up with some guidelines in terms of what has to happen if somebody does not do 1, 2, and 3 as expected. I will not talk about food because I'm hungry already. But yes, it's important that when you are in His Majesty table, you don't finish your food before. It's like when you are at Ndlunkulu, at the Royal Palace, and you have been offered food. You don't finish your food before His Majesty finishes his food because it's like uyamshiyela ukudla. So you do not do that. Maybe one last thing that I wanted to mention also, just to remind the members, there is this term that is the term, the one which talks about all protocols observed. When a person maybe is being is the program director in an event, a person will say, we acknowledge so and so and so, and then we'll say all protocols observed. That is one term, Chairperson, that is so wrong. I don't know how could I say it. In this book, it is written in different languages that never again. It's written in other languages which I don't even understand. But the one that I understand, it says never again. Chairperson, if maybe you have to speak, one has to speak in an event, it's important that you get to understand who is in attendance, understand who needs to be acknowledged. And if it happens that maybe somebody came and you were not aware, the right way of of including that important person is to simply say, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, you have finished it. But if you say all protocols observed, protocol officers feel like saying vuleka mhlaba ndingene, because it is so wrong. It is not said. So I think that is one thing that I wanted to say. Thank you, Chairperson. I don't know whether the Chairperson will give me another chance or that is it.
No, now we are about to close. You want another chance today?
No. I wanted to say one thing, Chairperson, just to say thank you to the members of the legislature. I wanted to thank them for inviting us as the Office of the Premier to do the presentations, the protocol presentations. When we got the invitation, we thought, hey, this was going to be impossible. I now remember the famous words of the former president of Ubaba, Dr. Mandela, who said it may seem impossible until it's done. I never thought that it would be done the way it has been done today. So in a way, you have empowered us as the Office of the Premier to say, during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic, we can still be able to do protocol workshops virtually as we have done this one. And we also appreciate the comments that came from the members of the legislature and regarding the protocol. And we just want to say we are always available. We avail ourselves as the Office of the Premier. Should there be need for the members for us to come and do something else which is related to protocol, because I know we could not finish everything within about 2 to 3 hours. But if there is anything else that you are interested in, we will always be available to assist where we can, because as we are doing this, we are also learning as well from the members of the provincial legislature. We thank you so much, Siyabonga kakhulu, Chairperson. Thank you.
Okay, honorable members, thank you very much for your contribution. Your questions of clarity really understand the meaning of protocol and I agree with Honorable Swatboy and Dombela to say that the environment was safe. If we have give the information, the very information, I would that that we just for rushing this presentation. Maybe when we read those presentations,
Your connection is bad, Chairperson.
Okay.
Can you close the mics on your side? Because even myself, I can hear this side, the noise. Hello? Can we hear now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, honorable members. Your input, your wisdom that you have displayed in these presentations, and the questions that you have raised. I think we are going to continue to look at these documents. Maybe when we have read them and understand and identify gaps on those protocols, we will then maybe request the Premier's office, this unit, to come again so that we can share with them our input on these things and see the way of how, as the members were suggesting, send it to different portfolio committees in the legislatures and also take it to the national portfolio committees that will get our input in regard to this protocol. I think, thank you very much, colleagues. This is the beginning of empowerment of us as Multiparty Women's Caucus. Understanding the protocol, it's very much important as we are starting, because when we go to the royal family, we don't know what is it that is expected to us. When maybe we deliberate with the presidency, we did not know what is the right protocol. You see, in most of the meeting, we do say protocol observe, but this particular workshop has enlightened us to say that this is really not a good word to be said when you are in different gatherings, because the first thing you must know the people you are addressing, but also there is an alternative way of saying all protocol observed, like distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. So you include everybody. Once again, honorable members, thank you very much for your hard work. Thank you very much to the Office of the Premier, Mimi and your team. I think today we are no more the same as yesterday. Thank you very much. The meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you very much. All protocol observed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Never again.
What Amanda, nothing kind.
Siyabonga. Siyabulela Chairperson, siyabulela Mimi.
Okay.
Siyabonga.
We are the same as yesterday.
One protocol of the Sanibona. Oh, Pupri.
Wabona Mapani?
Hello, Bri. Unjani? Angikuboni.
Unjani?
Ngiyaphila.